Hello and welcome to MXP number 4 with Maych and Pajak. It's the 4th time we've been doing this, Paul. I've enjoyed the first 3. Actually, I think
that sounds like you're setting us up for I've enjoyed the first 3.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
that was it. I'm not setting you up for anything. It was a real statement. Yeah. I think the 3rd was my favourite so far. I thought we sort of hit our groove, as podcasters, and YouTubers. I feel like we've got a lot to live up to.
Not YouTubers, Chris.
What else then?
Just real fellas.
Oh, yeah, fucking hell, Brandon. Jesus. That brings us actually quite nicely onto the page this week, and we did ask in episode number 1 for a page jingle, and Paul, I have been sent one.
Okay.
You've been sent one as well, but you don't check the emails.
No.
So here we go.
What time is it? It's time to page.
Hello. It escalated quickly.
I mean,
he shot the things that we don't like there.
That's okay. Let's know your thoughts on that in the comments. We're on Spotify as well, and we're on iTunes as well. Loads of people have been asking. You can just search Maych x Pajak, or there's a link which I put about 50 times in the comments of the last video, but we'll put it in there.
Yeah,
in the description.
bit.ly/MXP Spotify and bit.ly/MXP iTunes for those as well. We'll put them, of course, in the description and the first comment, and we will timestamp just like we did last week. Yeah. So we are talking page, Paul, and what are you paging this week, mate?
I've had a real struggle with this, if I'm perfectly honest, because I'm in danger of collapsing into an existential funk at the moment because of football. So I desperately want to purge from this earth football Twitter, and it's been about a year. It's been about a year. I did a video on this and how it was just bad AIDS on my channel ages ago, but it's just worse, and it's never going to get any better. And it's this notion of it's access to fans of other football clubs and how horrendous that has made the existence of being a football fan. And I love it in some instances. So, for example, I went to university, and you go to freshers nights out and whatever, and you'd end up chatting with lads, and inevitably you end up chatting with lads about footy, and it was amazing. I absolutely loved it because you were meeting lads from Chesterfield fans and Stockport fans and Arsenal fans and Sheffield United fans and blah blah blah, and you were all getting together over your love of football. There was no banter. It was just oh wow, and you shared the little bit you knew about those football clubs from Champ Manager, Footy Manager, FIFA or whatever, and it gave you the bond. Whereas now it's just nothing but horrendous banter. Why do we live in a world where other fans of other football clubs seem to know more about your football club than you do? It's who's got the time for this? And it's a constant gnawing, clawing, desperate, just bile-filled, hateful experience logging onto Twitter, even when your football club's doing well, because you've just got people who are constantly poking at, and this fucking doing the fucking fishing emoji thing. Oh my God, shove it up your ass. Honestly, stick it so far up your ass that you sick it out your mouth, because just going out of your day and your way to make other people feel uncomfortable and unhappy. Life does that anyway.
To be honest, I mean, I could quite happily just purge social media.
Yeah, I think so.
But the football Twitter is the worst part of social media.
It is the worst of social media.
Genuinely, why do people give a shit?
Yeah.
Why do I care what you're tweeting if I don't know you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's madness. But the football Twitter side of things, and you've got these accounts that just literally live on making other people miserable, and they're huge accounts, Paul.
Yeah, I got one, and I don't not looking to dig him out in particular. It was from a tweet from, I think it was DT after the Man City Leicester game, and it was something along the lines of, if Liverpool finish second by whatever, is it still considered a good season despite the fact that you blew a 7-point lead or whatever? And it's why are you asking the question? Do you really want to know the answer? Are you genuinely interested in the answer? You're not. You're just out to point score. You're out to try and put a little bit of snide on something. Now here's the thing. either be horrible or don't. But the idea of like trying to wrap it up as though it's some sort of intelligent football. I'm actually asking a really important question. You don't fucking care. You don't fucking care, because if you did, you'd ask the Liverpool friends, the actual real people that you know about it, and go, how do you feel? Oh, you're actually really pleased that the club's made loads of progress. Okay, fine. Well, I'll drop it then. But it's not. It's a constant, desperate need for attention and to deflect. And don't get me wrong. I've said this plenty of times. We've lived in this world where the team we hate most in this world, Manchester United, have just been incredible for most of our adult lives, well, childhoods and adult lives. So I've enjoyed plenty of times when things have fallen off for them. But the problem is that used to exist in our heads, and it maybe used to exist in little pockets in pubs and bars and on the school ground or whatever. And now it exists constantly 24/7 in your face, and it is wearying. I am so tired of football this season, because it's hard enough supporting your football team whilst also balancing kids and a life and a fucking mortgage and a business and all this, and then you've just got, and it's not, I'd love to say it was loads of fucking weirdo virgins in the bedrooms, but it's not. It's grown men. It's grown weirdo not virgins and all kinds of people from all sorts of weird walks of life and social backgrounds and all that, who have just seemed to think that this is how you're meant to communicate about football.
Because we think that, like, loads of us get enjoyment out of seeing other people fail. Do you think that's what it is? Is making other people feel uncomfortable?
It might be a bit of that. I just think it's deflection, isn't it? I think when your football becomes your life and this thing in your hand, Twitter, it's like people who need to watch Sky Sports news on constantly, or people who watch Deadline Day from start to finish, because it's become part of your culture of how you interact with football or whatever. It's people who tweet during the match. You know, I mean, I do a bit. I'm known to do a bit of it here and there, but it's the people who are constantly there. It's like, because it's there that you need to fill this void of space. And we've all done it. We've all gone to type a tweet or a Facebook status update and gone, the fuck am I doing that for? No, I think not everyone has that filter. I think I find myself having that filter more and more as I get older. But I think people just fill the void. And when you've gotten, and we've often talked about this, you get this in your working world as well. When you've got nothing in common with people, you communicate in misery. And so anyone's ever worked a shit office job or a shit, retail job or whatever, you basically bitch and moan all day long, and that's what people do when you've got nothing nice to say. You feel as though you should be doing something, so you'll chuck some shite out there, and when you can't be asked on about your football club anymore, you'll take pot shots at other people's happiness because it makes you feel better.
Really, like, other than Man City fans, nobody should be taking pot shots at us this season.
And even then, I'll be honest, I'm kind of starting to make my peace with Liverpool are probably going to finish the season empty-handed in terms of silverware this year. And I have a strong feeling there's going to be loads of City fans who are just like trying to rub it in face at the end. If Liverpool were to somehow manage to win the league this season, and it'll obviously come down to a last day thing, and if they do it, I won't be like going, City fans, in your face. I can't help it. I will be able to. I feel a sense of, I don't know the word for it, but magnanimous over it to some extent, because it's been an incredible race, and I'd love to be able to. I'd be clapping Man City, I'd be applauding Man City if it was the other way around. I'd just live in this fear of, I'm not asked. It's bad enough living in the reality that's probably going to happen to Liverpool, but it's the backlash. It's fucking an entire summer of just weirdos and minge bags and virgins all trying to take pot shots, and it's like.
Well, the mad thing is, for me, what I don't get about it all is that supporters are doing it. And like, I know that it happens on social media all the time, but just take a step back and just think about that. It's not the lads on the pitch who are doing it, and they'd be well within their rights to do it, and they'd be well within their rights to take pot shots at the other teams in the league who they've beaten. It's lads who just like football and support a team. Yeah. Now, what right do they have because they happen to be maybe born in a city and support their team, or they were gravitated towards a football team from a distance? You got no right whatsoever. You've done nothing but wank in your bedroom every night for the last 365 days. We all know this. Yeah. So why are you taking a pot shot at some lads who's actually made it in life? Yeah. A lad that maybe has scored 22 Premier League goals this season, scored 30 of last season. What have you done with yourself? You've put a cut on your own dick because you've been fucking wanking that hard, and you're having a pot shot at Mo Salah. Go fuck yourself. Again.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again. Yeah, football Twitter is getting pairs. If anyone else wants to share and take up this baton, this fight with us, by all means do. I mean, it's not like I'm going to delete the app because I need it for business purposes, but I wish I could. I genuinely wish I could. What are you paging this week?
I am paging shit marketing campaigns on men's health products.
Okay.
Bet you didn't expect me to say that, did you?
10 of men?
No, well, I don't know. I've never seen them, Paul, but where are they in the supermarket?
They had the adverts in the Anfield bogs for ages. It's basically like...
They must be a little bit high for me.
If you've got a little bit of a leaky penis...
I have seen them go to the doctors and all that. And it was, oh no, that was a different one, wasn't it?
I don't know.
It was the blood in your pee. There was one in the men's, in the cop there. No, it's shit like on toothpaste. So I've got one here for you, Paul. 3D looks on your toothpaste.
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh yeah.
What is that?
It's to try and it's these.
It's to make things sound better than they are, but when you actually stop and think about it, what the fuck is 3D looks in a toothpaste or Monster Hydro? You mean Monster Water? Because that's kind of what Hydro is. Are you now branding a fucking soft drink as water? Go ahead. G Fuel Hydration Blue Rocket Pop. Electrolytes, focus, vitamins. What does that mean to the average fucking man? Absolutely fuck all. L'Oreal Men Expert, Hydra Energy again. Hydra Energy, you're basically asking me to pay you loads of money to put water on my face. I pay me water bills, thanks. Get on these three. Scheme Cream, hybridised wax and gravity paste. What are they?
Gravity paste. Hair gel.
They are exactly, but why?
The gravity thing is what's up. But yeah, I mean, it's
Essential Oxygen. What is that? What is that selling?
Oh, I think I know this one. To be fair, I think this is another face cream, isn't it?
It's toothpaste.
Oh, really?
Essential Oxygen toothpaste.
Essential
What
Oxygen.
the fuck are these things?
Yeah, bullshit. Yeah, I love the idea. Two things. It's either to make things sound more expensive than they are, or to make things sound sciencey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
It's bullshit. And the thing is, mate, not so much that way of marketing the Sears Persian, it's that it exists at all because I feel sorry for women because women have had this stuff fucking hoisted upon them for their entire lives. Like, they're made to feel now like they can't leave the house without basically painting their faces. Like, you know, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. And all the other shit that goes with being a woman as well. It's terrifying. And now someone's cottoned on to the fact that they've kind of reached market saturation with that. Well, we've got 50% of the population that we can basically fuck up as well by doing exactly the same stuff. So they've started marking all this stuff to men like you're going to be dead wrinkly and grey. And you mean old? We're going to get old. Heaven forbid.
It doesn't make any sense. There was, remember that Audi one from years ago? Truth in Engineering or something like that, and then they got done with the emissions. You blag artists, because obviously Volkswagen own Audi and stuff like that, don't they? And it's like all these little catchphrases that are just a load of fucking shit. Yeah. Get them in the bin, get them paged, please.
Please,
ridiculous. So we're going to go on to some of the news topics then for this week. Let's do Game of Thrones first and foremost, and I'll try not to put spoilers at the end of this podcast like last week. Apologies.
You gave Tom an absolute twat of an edit last week.
Yeah, those spoilers I don't even think got marked up at the end of the podcast.
Oh really?
No, I don't think so. I was looking this morning. So Game of Thrones first and foremost. Let's talk about the episode before we talk about a little bit of the fallout and stuff. And look, did you see the dragon die in there? Everything was fine. It was hunky-dory.
But pure Game of Thrones brilliance, isn't it? Like, I was secretly hoping for, like, it was going to be a proper battle and then the dragon was going to come back for one last bite or something. But nah, they just got absolutely wiped out. What's funny about this is that episode was a season's worth of stuff happened in that episode by the standards that have been set previously. So, like, them planning to go somewhere and do something would have been the journey, would have been an entire series, and now it's just like they're now in the middle of the ocean. They've now had their asses kicked. They're now back again. Are you kidding me? Like, they're just going, oh fuck it, come on, let's just power through it. No, it was a
fucking hell of an episode of them. Missandra or whatever her name is getting beheaded at the end of the show and stuff. I mean, just ridiculous. And it's funny you mentioned that there, Paul, that, you know, they've essentially planned to go somewhere and gone somewhere. They could have made more episodes this series because there could have been stories that happen along the way. It's madness.
Yeah, they're just not asked. They're just and then all of a sudden they're in King's Landing again. Oh, that was it. Yeah, they're just there and they're facing off, and it's like the pacing of this, like it's gonna, because I've never rewatched an episode, so like I've just watched it every year on year, watch it one time only. It's gonna feel weird if you to go back and watch the whole thing. It's gonna be so jarring, like it's gonna, well, it's like the scene's missing, like you know, like you're watching a really weird, overly edited, like a YouTube compilation version of a series. But cool, I like the way that it's set up, and I like the way that they are slowly starting to set up that Amelia Clark, who is whatever her name is, Daenerys, is gonna be a bit of a psychopath. They're just setting it up that she's going to lose her head probably at some point, and you know, or she's going to at least be faced with that decision of, do I become
my father,
be dad, or do I step aside and help Jon? And
where are you thinking? Where are you thinking that's going to end? I think she's going to become mad. You know, her dad was the Mad King. She's going to go absolutely crazy.
Nah, I think because she's too popular. I don't think you can have. For feminism, I don't think you can have that, and I think
especially because you've got the other,
because you've got Cersei, and I think you'll have she will be at the brink, and I think she will turn back and come back on it, kind of thing, to some extent. But I like the fact that I like the Arya Stark stuff. I like the fact that there was they could quite easily have just finished their story off and had their go and be settle down and have love and romance, and it's like it would be a total kick in the face to her character development over the entire show. So they go, no, this is who she is. This is who she's had to become, this person to be the person that saved the day. And there's no, oh well, I can go back to a nice normal life anymore. She's irreparably changed her personality and character and all that. So yeah, all of it's gonna. But go on, what do you think it's gonna?
I think Jaime Lannister's gonna push Cersei out a tower window now.
Oh, go on. Yeah,
just to really bookend the show,
and then cripple her, and then go back to having his way with it again or something.
I mean, I did the weird thing. I turned around to Kat last night, and we were watching it, and he was obviously getting on with the Brienne of Tarth, tall woman, and all that. And I'm there going, Kat, does she know he spends, you know, his entire adult life fucking his sister, and is she okay with that? Because I know she's not had sex before, but character flaw, like, I mean, you know, you might get, there's a big guy there who just wants to fuck you, who's the best character in the show, by the way. He's the only comedic sort of breath of fresh air, and he just wants to have sex with you because you're a big tall woman. Why are you going for the guy who shags his sister with one arm?
Well, yeah.
Why? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, she's obviously not got a lot of, maybe she's just, yeah, he's a better looking fella, isn't he?
So what? He's only got one arm.
Yeah, I know, but you don't, so maybe she's into that.
Can you put your first one on, please? Just, multiple hands.
Can you put your closed fingers one on? Can you swap to two fingers now, please? Yeah, hang on. Yeah,
there we go. So there's a few more things. Obviously, before the game, before Game of Thrones came out, the greatest commentary in the history of commentary in football came out with the Newcastle game.
Yeah, so Arlo White, who does the American, I think it's the NBC commentary, isn't it? Just unbelievable. We won't be able to put all of this in for you because we'll get shut down for copyright.
Jurgen Klopp will send his Red Dragons out to scorch the St James's Park turf so he can spend another long night on the Iron Throne.
But he did a Game of Thrones montage basically before the Newcastle game. He's brilliant. I love Arlo. He's a great fella.
But then Martin Tyler tried a little bit of that with Line of Duty.
Did he?
For Man City last night.
Did he?
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was about 10 minutes into the game, I think, and he started going on about Line of Duty, and Gary Neville went, do you watch Line of Duty? And he's like, oh yeah, it's a great show. And that was that. And it was like, you fucking jagged knock-off Arlo.
The best thing that come out of that game last night actually was the Gary Neville's live stream looking around. Going into the Legends Lounge.
Yeah, Gary, it's the Legends Lounge.
Here's the Legends Lounge.
There's no one in it.
Steve.
Just love it. Just love it. Just absolutely love it. Oh yeah, Georgia King Clancy. Fantastic. I don't like Gary Neville very much, but he definitely has his moments.
And the final thing on Game of Thrones before we move on to the next topic, the coffee cup pull. How does that happen?
Yeah.
How? I mean, it's probably at least a year in the edit, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Someone's left a coffee cup on the table, and at no point in this world where you can create dragons on screen, and you can make that it seem like there are tens of thousands of people marching across a distant landscape, that no one A, spotted the fact that there's a coffee cup, and B, digitally removed said coffee cup.
Fucking hell, we had one on Redmen the other week where we had to play it out.
There's 5 of us, Kish, and we're all fucking idiots. We
managed to get it done.
Fucking idiots, and we managed to not.
Look, see how many idiots I'm going backwards. I got stuck on the fucking pillow. Jesus, I'm going to purge that pillow next week.
Wow. Brilliant. Right, okay.
So how, and like, oh my God. Daenerys, it's right in front of you, love.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's a lot of trust, isn't it, in your production team, and it's fallen flat on its face. Okay, so I want to talk about the royal baby. I don't know what it's called. I know it's a boy. I like the fact that I speaking to my father-in-law, and he immediately went, "Does it look like James Stewart?" Because there's obviously that wonderful thing from back in the day where Harry's probably not Charles's kid. If you look at Mr. Hewitt and you look at a picture of young Harry, yeah, there's the but I don't know. I attempted to purge this, but the pure joy that it brings to the
you can't purge
exactly to the pure joy that royal babies bring to middle-aged women.
But I've been at work and trying to work, and I can't because I've been too excited.
Is an absolute joy to behold. So yeah, good on them.
I found out last night from my mum, who is slightly older than middle age, but very much a royalist and always has been. And my dad walked into the room and he said, "Is she talking about that baby again?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, Do you know how I found out?" I was like, "No, go ahead, Dad." And he's like, "So she was there. I was reading my book in the other room." And she goes, "Meghan's had the baby! Meghan's had the baby!" And my dad walks into the room, he's like, "Who the fuck's Meghan? Why are you so excited? Who's pregnant here?" And she's like, Meghan! She couldn't speak, and she's like, "Meghan!" And my dad's like, "Who is Meghan, Brenda?" He's like, the Prince Harry's wife. And he's, "Oh, for goodness sakes," and just walks off into the other room again. Like,
your dad just turns his hearing aid off, flicks it off, just tops up his glass of whiskey, locks the bathroom door, and sits there with his book until the storm subsides. Now, I know my mother-in-law was like, she was the one who delivered the news because we were in all in ours yesterday, weren't we? And yeah, I mean, but she's also the kind of woman who had, I think she might have, I think I'm right to say she had a Princess Diana plate in the house. So, you know, there's just people for whom this photo was. We sit here and talk about 22 fellas kicking around thing into 2 rectangular things like it's the most important thing in the world. Which it is. But yeah, royals, more lizard babies.
My mum and dad got one of them. I think it was some kind of whiskey. I think it was a Bell's special edition, and they don't drink Bell's, but regardless anyway, for when Charles and Diana got married, and it was a special limited edition, and it was in like this porcelain something or other with a picture and all this beautiful work on the front of it. And I think it's worth now about £1,000.
Wow.
It would have been worth now about £1,000 because they got given it by my mum and dad.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything. My dad drank it when he was out of whiskey one night. And my dad, at age 40, filled it up with tea.
Yes!
So that the grandparent, or my grandparents, didn't know that he drank it, basically. And yeah, it would be worth about £1,000 now, and it's full of tea. Cold tea from the 80s sometime.
Fantastic.
Which is madness.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, there you go. What have you got?
I've got, I saw this article on these Football Times about Brazil's World Cup stadiums, and I know that this type of stuff's been going on for a long time, but it's an incredible article first and foremost, and it talks about the money that was spent on these stadiums and what they're all doing now. And some of them are most of them haven't got football teams playing in these ginormous stadiums from the World Cup. It was 2014, was it, the Brazil World Cup, something like that? And they're literally holding weddings there and birthday parties to try and get some kind of money in. I think it's what's the Brazilian team that begins with a C?
Corinthians.
Corinthians are playing in one of them. They're paying they're getting £300,000 a game and they're playing in one of these World Cup stadiums, but the costs are £1 million a week.
Yeah.
So they're losing, and basically they're playing probably, I don't know how many seasons they have in Brazil, like they have 2 seasons a year, do they?
Like that,
so they're probably playing about 30 or 40 games at 300,000, yet there's 52 million going out, and you're just thinking to yourself, you've crippled this. There's 30% more unemployment since the World Cup was there, and like, why is this allowed to go on?
Yeah, it's because FIFA's corrupt as fuck, isn't it? Basically, like, you mean, and there's just people who are mega rich who just want to be around more mega rich people, become more mega rich, sleep with loads of prozzies, take loads of drugs, and watch some footy from big hotels and big stadiums. It's crazy, and it happens. There's the legacy of all major sporting events is one of basically financial poverty and ruin, because they come in, they go mental and stuff. Look, I mean, we got lucky with the Olympics that West Ham was stupid enough to take that ground.
We also weren't lucky in the sense that we had an infrastructure.
Yeah.
To our country. We're a small country with loads and loads of population. Yeah. So we have that infrastructure, those road networks, those rail networks, the big enough sports teams to fill these stadiums regardless. But you're right, that West Ham one is a bit of an outlier for us even. But you know, we're getting the money into London. Didn't really help the rest of the country, I don't feel anyway. Yeah. But most countries, Brazil for example, was it Manaus or something like that where England played?
No.
One of those Amazon rainforest ones where everyone essentially lives in huts in the forest, and there's this ginormous bird's nest, not the Chinese stadium, a ginormous bird's nest stadium there, and they're like, why did you spend 300 million on that when I could have had a brick house?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's why they were rioting and protesting in the build up to it, because people knew. And
there was deaths.
Yeah, exactly. But this is happening now. You got the Qatar World Cup. You know, John Oliver on last week tonight, whatever it's called, did a great feature on it. You know, literally, there's people dying in Qatar now while they're building stadiums. They're falling into the concrete mix, and they're leaving them there because it costs more to pull bodies out of the concrete than it does the dead. So there are literally skeletons in the foundations of the stadium that they're building, and once again, they're building football stadiums in a place that's not. This will be it. I think this will be the absolute zenith. That next World Cup, where the bubble finally bursts, when everyone just goes, well, this is just utterly ludicrous, isn't it? And that will finally prove the absolute state. But it happens at every level, you know, whether it's building stadia or it's putting events in places that aren't suitable for events. It's Kiev hosting the European Cup final last season, and it's just because, again, these officials just want to go, well, yeah, they get paid off, and they just want to go somewhere a bit different for a change, and they mix things up, and
but even the Brazil one was mad, because obviously Brazil's a massive footballing nation, known the world over for being such a thing. But what they wanted to do was they wanted to bring football to different parts of Brazil, because Brazil is so vast. I believe it's the east coast of Brazil that is the real footballing heritage, and they went west coast and central, when actually those stadiums could have maybe survived over on the East Coast, but they wanted to bring it to a new area. Like the main stadium where the World Cup final was held is the capital, isn't it? Brasilia. No one knows Brasilia is a footballing city. It's not a footballing city. Yeah. You know what I mean? Rio de Janeiro is a footballing city, isn't it? That everybody knows. You know, absolutely fucking mental. And randomly, this isn't on the news topics, and I don't know how I'm going to go on to it from this, so I'm just going to zig and zag. I read an article just before we were going live about AirPods on Vice. Have you seen this by any chance? No. Now, AirPods are made of materials that are dug up from the ground, right, and at huge expense to people's lives of who are digging these materials up, and they are shaped in like furnaces and all this type of stuff, and they will take a millennia to dissolve back into the earth, right? But AirPods themselves, battery length, the lithium battery will start after 2 years to only last 45 minutes, right? So they've got all this technology in these fucking Apple AirPods, and these are the worst apparently of them, that will not go away, you know, and people lose them all the time, and they're just going to stay there forever. They're going to be so many fossilized fucking AirPods in 2,000 years, and people are like, what the fuck did they do this for? Brilliant. Why are these things meant to last 2 years that won't actually ever leave the planet.
It's mental, isn't it? I just as a pure random one, actually, because I wanted to do one on the do a Pajak game before we had a Pajak as a thing on new phone technology and like, you know, the way that they update it every single year, and what a complete waste of time it was, until I spoke to a fella. I was flying home. I got chatting to this fellow sat next to me, and he designs artificial limbs. And I was okay, well, it's really interesting, like, you mean, because you see that the technology's moved on leaps and bounds in the last decade. And he was telling me the accelerometers used to be, like, an accelerometer used to be basically, or a gyroscope basically used to be like the size of a football, and it used to cost like £10,000. But because of mobile phones, they're now the size of like a ball bearing. And they're now so cheap and so readily available that the mobile phone technology has moved on artificial limb technology absolutely street, because these things are now being mass produced and they've brought the cost of them down to absolute pennies. So I just thought it was one of those random things that I can't stand the way that I always think, why are we spending money on more tellies? Like, do we need 8K tellies? We very much don't need 8K tellies. Do we need to have a new iPhone?
But it's pushing other boundaries.
But in the mass production of new technology is making it more. Now the problem is, of course, it's all still capitalism, which means that it's all being driven it's not being driven in the right way, and it still boils down to, I'd love to see what would happen if, instead of throwing money at consumer, you know, fancies, you put it towards things that we need to. What developments could we actually make? But I just thought it was one of those nice little random
It's
asides.
mad that though, isn't it? I think normally most technological advances happen from porn.
Like, certainly in video technology.
In video, like 3D came in porn, very, very early compared to how it got to the masses in gaming and stuff like that. And you see, like, thumbnails in videos. Where did you first see thumbnails? Porn sites. And then all of a sudden YouTube have picked them up. Like, they're the real winners here. Porn are the real technological advances.
Preview, when you hover over a video, YouTube didn't have that feature. It's funny, the guy who was the head of football, Jet Nathanson his name is, and he was banging on YouTube for ages to get on this, and they refused, and now they do it because basically the porn industry's at it for fucking yonks. Right, an absolute, the best thing that happened in the last week or so in the world was Tommy Robinson.
So you come here very aggressively. You've got over. Tommy, go on. That's what you get for being a fascist.
Getting milkshakes. So apparently he got milkshake swilled twice. I've only seen one video. A young Asian man just decided he had enough of them.
Good on him.
And I think my hand just slipped. He basically got a kicking for it. Yeah. And he, for me, is my absolute hero of the week. And I think he should be held up on a pedestal as a wonderfully brave young man. Tommy Robinson, he doesn't deserve getting battered. And he doesn't deserve like anything really, really, truly bad. He deserves that. He deserves custard cream pies in the face.
And a pantsing.
And gunging. Like old school. Yeah, like Saturday morning, kids telly, green gunge dropping on his head, and all these guys, like, being put through funhouse. He deserves tarring and feathering.
Love it.
He doesn't deserve to be, like, beaten up or shot or hung or anything like that.
Get him in a house with Macaulay Culkin.
Oh my God.
Just
micro machines.
Baubles, hot fucking doorknobs,
maybe
irons to the face.
Maybe throwing bricks from the top of a building's a bit far, because you're talking major serious head trauma there.
No, I mean, didn't happen to the sticky bandits.
Yeah,
or the wet bandits.
No, but like I absolutely love this, and he is one of the greatest shit stains on the face of planet Earth. And he only seems like less of a shit stain because there's a bigger one in the White House. And but like, fundamental right wing politics is just absolutely horrendous.
It's them fucking security guards and stuff. And like, Tommy throws a couple of digs, doesn't he? And like, don't do it, Tommy. We need you, Tommy. You're the face of this, Tommy. And like, you're a fucking prick. And you behind him are a fucking prick. And you next to him are a fucking prick. Yeah. You're all absolute fucking pricks.
He's just a bad melt, isn't he? And the more milkshakes he gets thrown in his face, the better, to be perfectly honest. And if someone could like draw a penis on his back in chalk or something, all of that, don't just make him out, just make him a laughing stock. That's the only way to ruin people like that, is to basically make him so embarrassing to follow. Because you're talking about the people. I'm not saying everyone who follows him, by the way, because you might have some people who are just drawn in for whatever reasons, but there's a lot of morons there who just need to be taught in ways that they understand. He needs to be made out to seem like a weak little bellend, and so chalk penises on his back, kick me notes,
all the old school ones as well,
tying his shoelaces together when he's sat
when he's
down.
having his lunch, undo the vinegar bottle so when he pours it over his
and
chips
all the
and the
salt, yeah.
Maybe pour some vinegar in his drink and nick his lesson plan so he doesn't know where he's going as you're walking down the corridor.
Fart on his pillow so he gets pink eye.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever it takes, do that to Tommy Robinson, please. Right, just very briefly, I just want to talk about this season in the Premier League and how it's ended up being. It's going to end up being the worst Premier League season of all time in terms of drama. So we go into the last game of the season. The relegation stuff is sorted. The top 4 race, which is the most embarrassing race I've ever seen in my life since my shorts fell down doing the 20-metre dash in junior school. United and Arsenal are just so shit. It is hilarious. The teams that have got, I saw a great stat, and I'm paraphrasing slightly. The teams that have got a worse goal difference than United since Solskjaer took over is like Cardiff, Huddersfield and Brighton, I think.
Wow. I think I saw that before this weekend's games as well. Like,
amazing.
They're just so terrible. I mean, it's been billed as a race for the top 4. It's been anything but. Like, Chelsea are in 3rd. How are Chelsea in 3rd?
Yeah.
What the fuck's happened there? Yeah. Like, Spurs, you were 2 points behind us, lads. Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah, the Chelsea stuff's even funnier because obviously their fans losing their heads about Sarri and kicking off. And I don't watch them week in week. I don't watch them at all. But it always seemed a little bit reactive to me. It seemed like one of those situations where you had to wait to the season to see how well borne out it was. Like, if he finishes 3rd, and I think they'll win the Europa League. Yeah. That's almost as good as, that's as good a season as you can have from Chelsea's position. Exactly.
He won the Europa League, and where did they finish with him? I don't know.
4th, I think they scrape into. Or maybe, I can't remember. But the point is, that's a really good season considering where they are. And now they're about to enter the spell where they can't buy players and the best players are going to leave. So they should be appreciative.
They need that. They need the managers to continue to just go the way he's going. If you can't sign players, they just need to develop that side. And I think Sarri's probably the right choice to stay with them. But you never know what's going to go on there because you never know what Abramovich's state of mind is, do you? And, Chelsea are...
He's not asked anymore.
No, well, is he allowed in the country yet?
I have no idea. No idea.
Which is mad, isn't it? Like, but yeah, I can totally understand that. And Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that's fucking funny. That's just fucking hilarious, like, absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely.
Right, we'll move on to the discussion side of the show then. Paul, to focus on you again this week, mate. What I thought would be interesting to discuss is, we have so many people ask us about Redmen and its beginnings and stuff, and I want to certainly discuss that in depth and detail, but also where it is now compared to what you thought it might be, and then where you see yourself probably in the next 5 to 10 years and stuff. So, why Redmen? Why YouTube? What made you get into that?
So, basically, we talked about the week about how I moved back to Liverpool in 2005, and I had this burning desire to just start filming stuff and start making stuff. I thought I was going to fail my degree, and then so I got a job, and then I never failed my degree. So I got my degree, and then I started doing this job, and then I kind of thought, you had that thing of like, I should probably be doing something with this. So that's when I moved back, and as I'd said at the time, I tried to get a loan to buy a camera and I totally fucked my finances up, so couldn't. So then I was kind of back to square one of having to work and do stuff. And meanwhile, I've always kept notebooks and always just scribbled ideas down on a variety of random things. And it was that thing of, I just needed to start turning that from being sat in the back of one of our friends' bedrooms in a cloud of smoke to turning something from writing loads of ideas down to actually making a step to making things a reality. So it was around that time just starting to make little videos and little clips and doing little bits and pieces. And for me, it's always been about taking stuff from here and making it a reality. So it was a quest really to find a couple of things. It was to find something that was good enough that could be done over and over again. It was about making a job, trying to find something that people would be interested in. At the time, there's no, like, YouTube was there, but no one really knew what YouTube was.
Not cat videos and shit, was it?
Yeah, exactly. It was like YouTube was what Facebook is now. is that you'd see videos would permeate into your life, but you never really thought about who uploaded them or where they came from. So we never really thought about YouTubers or YouTube channels or whatever. It was just a sort of place to host random videos, which is what I initially kind of used it for. And it was just about... It was about trying to get on telly. It was about trying to make. So it was like I'd send scripts off to the film council to try and get funding for short films, and we made a couple of shorts to enter into short film competitions. And blah blah blah, and some of your earliest cameos are in all those things, because it was just
we're gonna put a couple of clips
yeah absolutely. We definitely there's definitely legs. I think in a one day we'll do a proper reacts to the really early stuff because it's horrendous, but it was just keeping myself ticking up because I was miserable. I was just absolutely down in the dumps because it's really hard to explain, and it sounds a bit conceited but it's like you feel like you're something you should be doing with your life, and when you're not doing it, you just feel really empty. You feel like you're fighting against the grain. You feel like you're walking uphill when you're doing the simplest of things in life. So it was like we tried so many different things. There was tons and tons of different ideas. I was like trying to make money by making music videos. Or doing adverts for people, just doing little videos here and there. And Redmen was just the one that kind of
stuck.
Yeah. It felt like it had the most legs. We used to sit around the pub, didn't we? We think about that. Like 2007 was probably around the real genesis of it, because we used to go out. We just used to meet in the 80s on Allerton Road to watch the Champions League games, and we'd sit off and we'd drink beforehand, and then we'd drink afterwards, and that was kind of like that we developed the culture.
Uncensored match build-up show, watch the game, final word show straight after. Yeah. It's what everyone does in pubs.
Exactly, and that was it. And it was a bit of like, kind of feeling like there might be something to that. And because LFC TV was free at the time, so it used to be on Sky, so it was and I used to joke that it was like the socially acceptable version of Babe Station, was those channels that as a fella, when there was no one else in the room, you'd put on. There's a reason most people's number 9 buttons worn out on the Sky remotes. But then when you were done with that, you'd put LFC TV on and you'd maybe watch Goal Rush. And it was just...
Goal Rush was good.
Yeah, but it was like one presenter, down the lens, very dry, very, very, very boring stuff. And just thinking, wonder if there's something we can make there that would make that a little bit better, basically. So
what happened then from the genesis of the idea to putting the show up, and where was it supposed to sit if YouTube wasn't the place?
So it was pitched to LFC TV originally. So I remember desperately trying to track an email down, a bit of an email chain, like, I've got this thing, I want to speak to someone about something, who can I get in touch with? And I eventually got past the email of a guy called Paul Rogers, who was the head of content at LFC TV at the time when they were based in the Matchworks and Speak. So it was me, our mate Jerome from school, who was like, he had the experience, so he'd worked for ITV and BBC, and he had a really good camera, and he was the professional in the outfit. We were just the rank amateurs.
Morons.
Yeah, absolutely. With nothing but dreams and smiley faces, like. And so me and him managed to get our foot in the door, went and got a meeting with them, and I had done this treatment document for the show, what it was going to look like, what segments were going to be, how it was going to be promoted, why LFC TV wasn't working, how to engage better with fans, all this kind of stuff. And we took it in and we pitched it to them, and they were made up, and I was like, what? And they were saying things like, well, we haven't got money, but we can sort you out with guests, we can help you out with things like tapes to record on. Do it all on my phone now. And we walked away absolutely buzzing with it. And then I left them this folder, which is like one of the biggest mistakes in my life, because they started cancelling meetings on us, and then all of a sudden, over the next year, 18 months, those ideas started to be drip fed into things that they were doing, which was heartbreaking. But we made the pilot,
Yeah.
We'd done a few things, and we tried a few things. Like we painted the banner, the original Redmen banner, in like 2007, 2008, I think. And we went to town and we did some Vox Pops, which we got about 2, and it was the most soul-crushing thing ever.
Horrible. That Vox Box is the worst thing you can do with a microphone and a camera.
Yeah, it's horrendous.
Dog shit.
We think it's easier than it is now, because all we have to do is stand outside Anfield and people kind of flock over and want to talk to you. Whereas to do it cold in the street is horrible. University students, it puts so many students off doing it because that's what they get asked to do for modules on the course. God knows I've done it myself. But we did that, and we got to the point where we were just trying to get that second meeting just to try to firm things up. And I was taking days off work at the time. I used up all my holiday days on cancelled meetings, and I was fucking fuming by this point. So we went and filmed the pilot in like the summer of 2009.
It's a battle. It's a good one. It's a battle. Yeah? Really? It's the crossbar battle.
The crossbar battle. Go for it.
Outstanding.
And cut it all together, and there was a guy who's Jerome's mate, Darren Brady, who did a lot of the editing for it, did the graphics
and stuff, yeah,
he did a brilliant job on the graphics. But both of those lads did the editing, and one that I think it was Jerome went down the rabbit hole one night on it and started. I think it was him. It might have been that. Started cut a laughter track to it. And it's the worst. And like, you'll never see this on YouTube. It's not on YouTube anyway, because I refused to put it out on YouTube eventually. But it was fucking horrendous, and it nearly ruined the whole thing. But we finally just said to them, "Look, we've got this pilot. Can we just have half an hour to show it to you?" So we finally got back in and we showed it to them, and they killed themselves laughing. I don't think you were there with us for that. They killed themselves laughing over it, and then we sat down afterwards, and it was this Paul Rogers fella again, and he goes, that was really funny, that really good. And one of the producers was like, oh yeah, great. And then he goes, did that joke need to be that long? Does it need 2 presenters? And bear in mind, all LFC-TV's content was 1 presenter at the time, and I was like, they just wanted to make it then. And they said, well, we spoke to our advertising agency, and they said, to be honest, people are either going to love it or hate it. I was like, yep, that's what happens with things. You know what I mean? People will have a love it. And basically what they were alluding to is they can't take the risk on it. And then they said, well, maybe we'll have like a public competition where people can submit their own ideas and the winner will get to be on it. And I was like, so I spent like 6 months trying to get a toe in the door, got me toe in the door, got it slammed on it, and then I was basically holding the door open for all people to come in. And the problem is that we've never been connected in the Liverpool scene. We never grew up in it. We didn't know people in it. We just lads who knew each other and went the game. So if it was going to boil down to like a popularity contest, there was just, someone was probably going to come along who knew all the lads from Spirit of Shankly was probably very early days around there, but maybe knew them and would be able to create a groundswell. So I was fucking raging. So,
but we did have one of those guys come into our lives at one point, didn't we, Paul?
Yeah. So
Ray Osborne.
So Ray Osborne, it was because that was kind of what kicked us off, because we came full circle around that. So we sat on that pilot for that was like summer 2009, and then I had an operation on my shoulder around the Christmas, so I was off work for 3 months, and I was like, going back to the drawing board of what videos to make, what to do, and this was sat there the whole time, like just gathering dust, and I was like, okay, well, we'll try and make something of it. So when it got round to summer of 2010, I was like, right, we're going to put it out, we're going to try it, see if people like it, and then we'll start making new stuff. And we put the first few clips out, and this fella Ray Osborne got into it, and he was part of Help Save LFC, which was, people don't really remember now, but was a kind of an analogue to Spirit of Shankly. They were a bit more in your face, a bit more physical protests and that. Like, I think they maybe worked in conjunction or what have you. But they did the Standards Cut Up the black protest shirts and what have you. And Ray was our biggest advocate initially. And he really went to bat for it. Now, he also set us up for our biggest, earliest test, because there was a video we did taking the piss out of Everton's pink kit.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, how uncomfortable does he look there?
And he told his lad, he showed it to his lad posted all over Everton forums, so we got fucking slaughtered, weeks and weeks of getting annihilated when I was like turning comments off on YouTube because I was like, this is not what I got into it for. I just wanted to make some fun videos so Liverpool fans. Didn't occur to me that like Evertonians might
have
just
YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but Ray was the one who got us in, and he helped us with the, you know, we started covering a lot of the protest stuff around that, and yeah, him and a few of the guys around that time were like really, because we were a bit daft, and we always done our things our own way. We never taken things too seriously, but also no one was giving coverage to this. Like, you know, there was no BBC weren't turning up to cover this stuff, and ITV and whatever. Yeah, so we did. And as a result, we kind of, you know, we gave these guys a platform to talk and stuff. And so, yeah, that was our first real point of legitimacy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Ray was a massive influence, I think, for both of us, wasn't he? I think, you know, when probably at the point where you're thinking, is this going to work and all that type of stuff, this guy who is Liverpool through and through, who's, you know, anybody who's been on Rourke, a massive forum, if you're not a Liverpool fan, will know him as Shankly Boy, and he started the old arse thread on there and stuff, and that thread, I believe, still lives on to this day, and he was, you know, he was a huge post on there before he passed, unfortunately, and I don't think Redmen would be here without his input, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, it was him, and there's a couple of guys. Roy Henderson was big at the time as well, of being a big supporter of us, and you're right, it helped because you had fellas who were properly established in the Liverpool scene, almost giving us you know, the mark of approval or whatever. And yeah, he was, and he'd constantly fight to get us into rooms. So we did it when they did the Dear Mr. Hicks stuff. They were the guys who put us forward to get involved with Mike Jeffries, who was the director of that. Really helped get us in the room. And Ray passed away not too long afterwards. When it was swine flu or bird flu, like a real out of the blue shock, and I was absolutely heartbroken. And because, and it's one of those things, we have it more and more the older you get, you know, particularly with Facebook, and people who've passed who are still on your Facebook, and they still crop up and you still
your
see them.
Birthdays and comments from people talking to them on their birthdays and stuff, which is a weird thing.
Yeah, and you know, and yeah, he was like you say, a mega influence on me at the time, because it was just a fella I totally respected, and weirdly, just like he could have thought we were massive bellends, like, and he never did, and lots of people did at the time, because, you know, it's very difficult with the Liverpool scene to break into things. We love Scousers. We don't like new things. We don't like people who think that who we think are bigger than they are. Not that we ever have, but there's a culture of, well, if you want to film yourself, then maybe you presume you think you're better, or your opinion matters or whatever, which has obviously never been the case.
Let's talk a little bit more about early Redmen and stuff, and how it was, because people will have seen some of the early videos, but it isn't what it was, is it, Redmen?
No, it's funny because there's a load of graphics that come up on my Facebook on this day, and you're going back a decade now, and it was originally pitched as like the LFC comedy show. Effectively, it was more of an entertainment show. It was just talking a little bit about what was happening in footy, but it was largely just having a laugh and doing some sketches and taking the mick out of things that were happening in and around footy in general, but with a Liverpool slant to it, and that. The evolution of that is funny because we, you know, that was all us taking the piss and, you know, dressing up as footballers and having a laugh, or doing challenges and that kind of stuff, was what, you know, again, making an entertainment show was what it was, and it's moved more and more away from that as it's become a bit more grown up, a bit more mature, a bit more polished as the years have gone on. But yeah, it's night and day. God, those early ones are genuinely atrocious.
They were scripted, weren't they?
Some of the scripting, I like some of the scripting on it, because it tells you what we were trying to do. It was like, when you're trying to do comedy, you've got to script. So a lot of it was like reacting to the World Cup stuff and that, and, you know. So again, the problem with comedy is it's very subjective and it's very hit and miss. It was definitely more missed than hit.
I think one of the other issues is when you've got scripting, you need people who can act.
Yeah.
And I certainly can't fucking act.
We had some good fun, but we found our groove that we realised eventually the easiest thing to do is just press record on the camera and just talk about footy. And once we realised that, then it was it. But it very much it was a very different beast back then.
Do you miss that fun stuff, Paul?
Yeah, 100%, because I'm always considered myself like a writer-director. I never really wanted to be a presenter. I never really wanted to be in front of camera per se. It was the problem you've got. I always talk about this. Like, if you're a musician, if you're a guitarist, you can take your guitar out and you can go and play. And maybe you can, if you want to sing a bit, you can do, but you don't have to. You can just go and play your guitar. When you're a writer, you've written this script, great. Well, where's that going to go? If you want someone to make it, you've got to convince someone to pay for it. You've got to convince someone to direct it. You've got to convince camera ops, and you've got to convince a production company to take it on for you. And I got so frustrated with that I ended up on doing as many of the roles as I humanly could. But that was always it for me. I loved, we worked in the tavern. I used to spend hours upon hours of my day in my own head, or having light conversations with people. Whatever. I had a notebook with me, and I'd just be scribbling sketches and stuff down. So I love that side of things. I've always preferred the art of it, the craft of it. There's no craft to what we do anymore. It's established. We've established the rules around which Redmen is constructed largely. So like now it's just you turn up, you press go, you do a bit of mixing, you edit it, you chop it up, it goes out. Those days of like being able to go to dream stuff, and that's where we reference it on here all the time. The Champ Man series was probably the last time we really did something that was like that.
I'm not sure what's going to be happening. I'm sure the lads have got something going on, so I'll be joining in that.
Maybe the things where we did like the Mo Salah goals, recreated stuff last summer.
Mo Salah can pick up the pieces and score. It's a goal for Liverpool. It's another goal for Mo Salah.
Those when you go, right, here's an idea. How do we go about constructing it? Yeah,
this is what I want it to look like.
Yeah, I do very much miss that stuff.
So where do you see yourself going over the next 5 years?
It's a really interesting one because honestly, no idea. Because it's been a 10-year battle to get Redmen to establish itself and to be a self-sustaining entity, for a battle for legitimacy, a battle for for quality, and now we're entering a world where there's other people kind of doing similar things, and now it's a bit of a battle to remain on top. I've always had there's always other things I wanted to try, always other subject matters I wanted to get into, but at this point now I'm not sure where the next step comes. I've got plenty of ideas, plenty of things I'd like to try, but the hardest situation we're in now, and this is not, I say hard, this is a situation I would have begged to have been in any point up to like this point in my life, is that it's hard to now choose what your next step is going to be, because when you've kind of made a success of something, you've got a bit of freedom to do what you want to do, but you're not so free as you can pour 100% of your time into it. So to get, Redmen has been an act of absolute fucking lunacy for the last 10 years. It's been a obscene amount of dedication and time and effort and blood and sweat and tears, lots and lots of tears that have gone into making it. It's hard to then go back and start a new thing. It's hard to decide what's the next best thing.
We had a comment, I think it was on maybe the first or the second podcast, and I forget whose name it was, and apologies, but I think the comment was, the general gist of it, and this isn't verbatim by any stretch of the imagination, was, why are you two doing this? You've got Redmen. There'll be a point in the future where you have to pick, and you'll pick this, as in MXP, rather than Redmen and stuff. And, personally, I was thinking, personally, I need this. I need something that's not just Redmen TV in my life. I don't know whether you feel the same way, and whether it's been 10 years of doing the same thing, and listen, it's changed year on year, but ultimately we're still talking about football, aren't we?
Whenever I see like The Who or Metallica or like the Rolling, you get to the really older bands and all that, and they're going out and they're gigging, and you realise that, like, a great example of like Paul McCartney a few months back, and he's not arsed now, so he's putting his new songs in with the classics and all that, but people aren't vibing with the new stuff as much as, of course, they're going to vibe with stuff they've had in their lives the whole time. But I get a little bit of that, is that you see, and you wonder, like, you compare it to musicians of like, what do you do when you reach a point? It becomes side projects, but how often do side projects become as good as your you know, are the last shadow puppets ever going to be as big as the Arctic Monkeys?
Does it matter?
No, but
to them,
probably not. But it depends. It depends because I don't know. Because it depends what they get out of it. Because if Alex Turner gets bored of the Arctic Monkeys, you're not going to cut your nose off to spite your face. You're not going to, you know, if maybe like Paul McCartney can do what he wants because he's got more money than he'll ever need in 10 lifetimes. So he can just do whatever the hell he wants. But if you're not making, if you know, you need to reach a point where you've made enough money that you can be comfortable and be able to do the things, because that's the tough issue. Is you need to be able to be, you need jobs. Because here's the thing. This is a weird thing to say because this will fall on deaf ears to most people, and fair play, because most people do jobs that they hate because they think, because you're supposed to hate your work, and you're supposed to hate your life, and you're supposed to hate your wife, and you're supposed to hate all these things. I disagree. I think you're meant to love your job, and I think you're meant to love your wife, and I think you're meant to love your kids, and you're meant to love all these things. So you should be striving to be happier in what you do, and that's a very difficult thing to marry, because when you look at what you're doing, you should be made up, and I am, but I'm also the kind of person who likes to constantly move forward. I get very bored doing the same thing. Monotony is my biggest bugbear, so I need to feel like a bitch, like a shark. I need to constantly be moving forward. It's quite a draining way to live life. I'm my own worst critic, but I always feel like I need to be trying stuff and moving stuff. So I'm in a very weird crossroads of things. I'm really enjoying doing this because it's nice to have different forms of conversation. But you look at Redmen, it's hard particularly because there's like no payoff. It's like watching a porn video with no cum shot. That's what Liverpool, it's kind of been like with Redmen. I've loved every second of it. It's been built up. It's got me where I am today. But we haven't had that big blowout at the end that you can go, oh, I was there for that. We did that. So it does become a little bit of like how do you refresh that? How do you maintain your interest when you're basically playing, you're playing Smells Like Teen Spirit after fucking 10 years.
You could look at Redmen and let's say we're doing the same stuff next season as we've done this season. Are we improving any? Is Redmen getting better? How are we going to do that? You need to constantly move forwards, but you also need to move forwards with different things in your life. Mm-hmm. Like just the news topics that we're talking about today. We can't talk about Brazil. We could maybe talk about Brazil's World Cup stadiums. Can't talk about Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. I mean, when did we get time to do that? We're in here like fucking 60 hours a week, you know what I mean? And it's mad, isn't it? I think I personally need this time to myself, and I think you're probably in exactly the same
I just want to, and there's also there's loads of things going on. The reason why I ultimately got in front of the camera for Redmen was because I wanted to build something, was because I was writing these scripts and sending them off, and I was fucking nobody. And so no one's got the time of day for these things. No one's going to overlook grammatical errors. It's like when you get sent a random CV. So much stuff just going in the bin. And I was watching people who had just a bit of fame and a bit of notoriety were walking into doors that were getting slammed in my face. And these people had no more talented than me, no more charismatic than me, no more anything. They had nothing going for them other than they'd made it a little bit earlier in life, and so they had a little bit of a reputation that was opening doors for them. And that's what I wanted to, was get to a point where it would open doors for me. So that's what I hope I'll reach in the next 5 years, is that I can start to channel some of this, and we're doing it with this, and with my own channel and what have you, is hopefully is just know more people, be able to meet more people, be able to expand the horizons a little bit, because 10 years ago I was working part-time for you, shoveling shit out of a fucking cellar and all this kind of stuff, and living on buttons a week and having having holes in my roof and all this kind of stuff, like, to make this all possible. But hopefully this is just that lull, that eye of the storm before it all kicks off over the other side. It's the plateau
before the next stage and stuff. And listen, a lot of people won't know this, and probably the people who work with us don't know any of this stuff, but we made a pact years and years ago, didn't we, when we were growing up, that, if one of us made it, we'd take the other person with us. Obviously, we discussed a couple of weeks ago how you were without a job, and I then gave you that job and that platform to get back on your feet. And equally, you got me involved in Redmen, have taken me on this journey ever since. So, I feel like, we made a pact 15 years ago. We've done it pretty good so far. There was other people that we've lost involved in that pact as well along the way, unfortunately.
No, but it's true. But I always said about that, and that galled me, because again, it's like kind of like the stuff I was talking about when I was losing my job a couple of weeks ago, is that you take it as a personal front when people don't want to follow you on the journey, but you kind of come to realise people have got got their own paths, and I always use the line of like the hen that made the bread is the old parable about how the hen asked for people for help in making the bread, and then ultimately everyone wants a share of it when it's made, but it's the people who want to help you along the way are the people that you want to help in return, and we've tried our best to do that. That's how we've kind of constructed the business that we've done. The people who've come in here and worked the bollocks off, we've always tried to help and sort out, and hopefully down the line hopefully we've made loads of like really talented people on the line who will drag us up further in years to come. But no, it's been an amazing ride anyway.
So we'll move on then. We've got a few questions from last week's podcast that need to be answered, and we'll start off with LFC Spectre. Hey guys, I have a question for both of you. What is the most underrated movie you've watched that no one talks about all of the time?
Doom.
It's
you know what? It's not really underrated. It's not very good. But if you
did it have The Rock in?
Yeah,
I've not seen it.
And Carl Urban as well. And
who's that?
Dr. McCoy in the new Star Trek films. Judge Dredd in the recent reboot. Good actor, very good actor. But yeah, it's fine. It's a bit thick. It's a bit stupid, and it shoehorns in some Doom tropes of like there's a first person perspective section of it. It's a bit, but I love sci-fi horror. I don't like horror. I love sci-fi, and I can kind of handle sci-fi horror in the middle. Like, but yeah, it's a proper thick as pig shit movie. But if it's one of those films that a comfort film. I've seen it loads of times. I can just kind of throw it on and be engaged by it for an hour and a half.
Mine is the greatest comedy film that's ever been written, that if you know, if you don't know, you've never heard of. It's Basketball. Yeah. I mean, there is literally no better comedy film that's ever been written.
It's in there. It's for me, because it's funny enough, because I was watching it this week, wasn't I? Rewatching it, I should say. And we both, that was like in our university years, that was probably like the film we both watched the most during that spell. That and Jane Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yes, great films. If you've not seen Basketball, though, it's Trey Parker and Matt Stone of South Park fame, Team America, World of Police, all that type of stuff. It is the funniest thing. I think we're a little bit like them in that it's that style of comedy that we like, that's just downright stupid shit.
Yeah, stupid shit with like the South Park stuff that's got a bit of, if you're prepared to look beyond the dick jokes, there's a bit of substance to it. Because their other film, which I was thinking about this the other day, is more underrated, that no one ever talks about, is Orgasmo, which is actually came out, I think that came out the year before, and I think it's actually funnier, and it's actually a better constructed film in some ways. But yeah, it's hilarious. But it's got like a great, it's where I think the Book of Mormon kind of stemmed from this, because it's got Mormon characters in it. But yeah, it's got a heart underneath it, but on the top, it's basically a film about a guy who becomes a Mormon who works in porn, who becomes a porn superhero. Like, so yeah,
it's brilliant as well. To be fair, like Jesse Hutchinson. Oh, by the way, leave us yours in the comment section below. I might go and watch a few of them if they're good. Jesse Hutchinson, as someone who can see their hairline going back, how does Chris deal with seeing the most perfect hairline in existence daily? Paul's obviously not very well, if I'm honest with you, Jesse. It's definitely I'd love to purge my receding hairline if I could one week. But I don't think I'm going to be able to do that.
You don't want to risk wording it wrong and being bald.
This is true. I think the only way I deal with it is every time he touches his hair, which is a lot, I think, well, that's just one more that's going to fall out early. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You've had a good run now, as we saw last week.
Oh yeah, it was all right. Like, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Like, I'd like a full lock of hair.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
You could just I think you should grow it out.
I'm not going to grow it out, Paul.
So like
I'm not going to do anything you say like that.
My cousin-in-law, he had this thing where he was starting to recede, and he grew it out for like this file time, and it was just amazing. It was like, it grew just really long at the back, and it was thin on top, like the best mullet I've ever seen in my entire life. You're not in that thing. The thing is that you're not bald. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not bald yet. Yeah. I reckon I've got a good 6 years.
Okay.
6 years.
What are you gonna do?
Shave it off. I'm going to be a bald fella.
Okay.
I've got to be. Yeah. I don't mind. I'm cool with that. Like, I'm accepting.
Because I'm of the opinion, because it could happen, because I try not to take the piss, because it can happen. It can befall anyone.
And your hair's going grey as well. To be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah. Which that's another debate thing of like, I've always wanted to look like Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four, cool, with like the grey temples. So I'm on the way to that. But I always wonder, because if you do, starts to go there, but you've got it in abundance elsewhere. You're not just going to shave you're not going to shave it all off. Like, so yeah, I'm fascinated by the people's decisions. You've just got to get plenty more. You've just got to get. You're going to have to get more interesting glasses if you go bald, though.
I think so.
Because that's what happens.
Or just laser eye surgery.
Laser eye surgery. Oh, no. But you can't grow a beard.
No, I can't.
So you're going to have to get, like, funky, thick rimmed glasses if you go bald. Because that with like Aubrey's dad did this for years. He was, like, doing the receding thing, and now he just looks dead cool. Because he's got the bald and he's got yellow rimmed glasses and all that kind of stuff.
They're awesome,
like.
To be fair. Like,
Yeah.
To be honest, I've not really given it much thought. I don't give my hair too much thought, if I'm perfectly honest. Like, I really don't, as you can tell. I've been doing this with my hair for years and years and years now. Yeah. Garam Masala, I like what you've done there. Question for next week. I believe everyone is world class at something. I rate world class as top 1% worldwide. What do you reckon you guys may be world class at? For me, it's Tony Hawk's 2, remembering song titles and artist names and coming up with questions for my 2 favourite Redmen. I think we found out last week yours.
What was it?
You wanted to, you thought you could be an e-sporter?
Oh no, for Pro Evo 4, was it? Yeah, I used to joke that I was the Steven Gerrard of bar work back in the day, to which an incredible response was, "You're the Steven Gerrard of bullshit," which I quite enjoyed. No, I think we're probably in the top 1% worldwide of people who make Liverpool content. Yeah, it's tough. It's close. I don't know. I don't think I'm world class anything, and I think I sacrificed that. And I say sacrifice like I had a choice. I hate doing the same thing over and over again. I'm the kind of person who I'd rather be doing 4 things. I'm more relaxed doing 4 things than I am doing one thing. So it meant that if I just focused on presenting, I'd probably be a better presenter. If I just focused on editing, I'd be a better editor, and so on and so forth. So no, I don't actually think I'm world class or could be world class at anything.
No, the closest I think I've come was Mario Kart 64. And that was the closest. I was 0.2 of a second off a world record on Wario Stadium, but ultimately I didn't have a world record, and this is also probably 6 years after the game came out, so everyone else had stopped playing it, so I was probably world class at the time because no one was playing it anymore. Genuinely, I don't think I've ever been world class at anything other than maybe moaning. I'm pretty decent at moaning, like. Yeah. I do like a good old whinge. A good moan on your life. I do. I like it. It fuels me. It does, certainly. So we move on then to life coaching. What is the best advice, Paul Machin, for a job interview?
So this comes from Banana Drama. I've had some terrible job interviews in the past, and there's a very, very simple thing is, don't presume that you're better at things than you are. Now, there's a degree to which, like, fake it to make it is a thing. So project confidence, go in there and give it the beans. But for the love of God, don't go in without prep. Like, I remember going into, I've been into two terrible job interviews. One of them was for Blockbuster, an assistant manager of Blockbuster a long time ago, because, Blockbuster. And they asked me, like, talks about the advances in technologies that were coming, and I had not thought about what was going to be happening in any way, shape or form. So
did they?
Yeah, no.
To be fair, they didn't fucking see online, did they?
But bear in mind, this is still this is like 2000. This is like 2006. So the answer was Blu-ray.
Right.
And instead of talking about Blu-ray, I did a 5-minute diatribe about UMD, which was the cartridges that the PSP took, because I fucking knew it. Because I freaked out and couldn't talk. I totally forgotten Blu-ray existed. So I told them about how good that was. Now, that's getting it wrong. That's getting it majorly wrong. And the other one was...
Also, I mean, if you'd have spoke about Netflix, you probably wouldn't have got the job, and yet you'd have been proved right.
Absolutely. The Liverpool channel streaming. The other terrible one that I made a mistake on was Sports Direct. I had an assistant manager interview for Sports Direct, and I basically walked in and told them that Sports Direct was shit. I walked in and went, as I had photos, I was like, you're putting up these like luminous green card, handwritten signs for Lonsdale trainees. What are you doing? That's a disgrace. Don't be doing that. And I basically went on to intimate that everyone who shops there is just scumbags, basically, because you can't afford to go and shop in JD or whatever. And the reason why, and it was just like, actually, our demographics and our clientele actually state that they have a blah, blah, blah. And I was like, because this is after...
bullshit,
well, I mentioned that obviously the coming out of the... British Gas job, and I hated it, but I'd been rubbed off, and I thought, this is how you've got to be in sales. You've got to be dead bolshy and talk about stuff. So I was just talking about how, like, yeah, there's a reason why it's just basically scumbags who want to buy Lonsdale tradies. That's the only people who shop in there. So you might want to make your things a bit more upmarket if you want to sell a few more, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't think I've got many any good advice really for job interviews. I've not really been on many that I haven't got, to be honest with you, and I don't know whether that is because I used to do my prep and stuff. But from the other side of the table, I used to sit there, and the biggest bugbearer for me was dirty nails when you're going into a restaurant job, and long dirty nails at that, because these are things that customers see all the time. Yeah. So if you're going for a bar job, cut your fucking nails and clean them. You know what I mean? Or you're going to work in a kitchen, something like that. But we had the absolute funniest guy you could ever work for at the tavern. Like Keith Gurney runs the tavern, and he was a maverick, and he'd have 100 incredible-ish ideas, but one of them would be the fucking diamond in the rough. And I as his GM, I used to have to bat away all the silly ideas, but some of the things to do, going back to your question, with the job interviews, some of the things that he'd get us to do. So instead of job interviews, he got it into his head that we were having we were spending too much time on job interviews, so he set up speed dating job interviews. That's what he wanted me to do. So the tavern is still doing this now, actually. They will give you a time to turn up for, and they will interview as many people in 2 hours as physically possible. So you would get maybe 100 people coming in for these speed dating job interviews, and you'd have to go through them 30, 45 seconds, maybe 2 minutes maximum. So you'd have to get the person's personality would have to come across first. I would always say, and again, it's restaurants, it's not something that, you need a degree for or anything like that, but I would always say, I can teach anybody to wait a table. It's not a difficult thing. But I can't give you the personality to make the restaurant look good. Yeah. You know what I mean? And speak to them and stuff like that. So we used to hire purely on personality and then hope that they had the drive and determination. One of the ways that we used to find out whether they'd have the drive and determination to do stuff was something Keith devised, and he'd tell them he'd say, I want you to see if they can carry oranges on a tray, Chris, to see how good they are. And I'd be like, really? And he'd be like, yeah, you gotta make them carry oranges on a tray. So I'd have these lads walking around with 10 oranges on a fucking tray, dropping them, and he's like, you can't carry them, Chris, you can't work here. And he'd see you later, mate. And then he'd be like, I want to know if they've got the personality, Chris, so will you just do me a favour and ask them to sing you happy birthday? So we'd sit down in a 30-second job interview and be across the table and go, hiya, name, I'm Chris, general manager, blah, blah, blah. John, can you do me a favour? Can you sing me happy birthday? Right, do you remember John Crawford who worked there? Yes.
Right, John Crawford. So he was one of the guys who I asked for happy birthday, and he fucking belted it out. Happy birthday to you, in a restaurant with people sitting down and eating. He sat across the table in a job interview singing happy birthday to me. And it was years later, he got promoted. I think we went waiter, and then we promoted him to a duty manager, and I ran into him in town.
I guess I love that. And he got the job. Did he make it up to manager? No, we had to sack him in the end. But
we did. And he met me in town years later, and he was like, that fucking job interview, Chris. And I was like, I'm so sorry, mate. Keith used to tell me to do all that shit. I wouldn't be asking you to sing happy birthday. And he was like, I'd been out of work for like 5 months. I would have done anything at this point. And you asked me to sing.
You can't have this job. All you need to do is suck my cock.
He said his heart sunk, and he was like, need a job, here we go. And he just belted out happy birthday. Like,
so give your best self.
Shit.
The only alternative to this, of course, is that I effectively got us the job with Ball Street by walking in and telling them that all their content was shit. But I was right, and we made it loads better at the time. But yeah, that's another story for another day. Listen, if you want more life coaching from the experts in life, that is me and Chris, let us know yours in the comments, or you can tweet at Mr. Blood Red or at the Paul Machin as well. Use hashtag life coaching if you're going to use Twitter for all that stuff. And because we are on Spotify and we are on iTunes and all that good stuff as well, make sure you leave a 5-star review, leave a good positive review as well, because it all helps.
It does.
And yeah, topics, questions, all that stuff you want us to discuss in the future, let us know in the comments on that as well. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Make sure you share the video. If you've enjoyed the podcast, share it with your friends as well. That's the all-important thing. And other than that, should we be back next week?
Yeah, we should be back next week.
Cool.
MXP number 5, baby.